Okay, looks like we're recording. Yep. Alright, I'm just gonna go as unscripted as possible with this video. Fuck it, let's do it. Hello everybody, welcome to my first actual long form video other than the performance videos I have on the channel. I'm Kyle Parker. For those of you that have not seen my YouTube short, I did a thing kind of hinting at what my first long form video is going to be. Opeth. They're my favorite band. I've been a fan of them since 2019, basically since In Count of Wayne and them came out. Specifically, the reasons why I wanted to do it was just because, well, I'm going to be seeing them in February, and I've actually never seen them live. I've just genuinely have never been able to. And yeah, I just wanted to rank them because wanted to listen to every album, well, every studio album, and just rank them. Future Kyle here. I just wanted to record this because I forgot to mention it in the video, and even though I really shouldn't have to state this, I'm going to anyway. This video is my opinion. This tier list is all my opinion. You're not going to agree with it. That's totally fine. If you want, you can put your ranking in the comments or something. I don't know. There we go. We got the tier list. So I have Sorrow tier, which is basically just S tier. Then, of course, Epic, which is good, which is a epic, but it's amazing, but it's not S tier, Then we have Good tier, which is good, but there's some things I don't really care for. Then Meh, where I'm not great, but there's still some silver linings. And then Nope. Let's get started, right? So, first off, I'm just gonna say right off the bat, I don't think that Orchid is that great. When I was listening to this album, I kind of noticed that when I was listening to each of the songs, it kind of felt like they were just kind of throwing shit at a wall and just kind of hoping it sticks. There are a couple songs that I actually do like, such as In Mist She Is Standing, and the other one was Under the Weeping Moon. There were some really cool parts in there, especially there was that dissonant harmony in Under the Weeping Moon. I'd play it on my guitar, but I don't want to get copyright claimed or anything. But there's that da 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 da, that part where it goes into that long acoustic passage. I thought that was really cool. There were other songs on there, such as Silhouette, which was a cool piano interlude, but I felt that it wasn't really necessary. I just wasn't super crazy about the album overall. And production wise, I mean, it's more akin to black metal, if anything, and I'm not the biggest fan of black metal. Orchid is also, I would put Morning Rise in Nope tier as well. It's slightly better. The production is just about the same. It's still kind of raw sounding, still black metal-y. The songwriting I think is still slightly better. It kind of feels like, they're still getting their form down, they're oh, okay, so there is a little bit more intention with how we write things and how we do stuff. However, I cannot say the same for Black Rose Immortal. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people in the community love that song. I get it. There are some cool parts in there. Otherwise, I don't think the song is that memorable. Again, it's the same thing I just said with Morning Rise, where it feels like they were just throwing shit at a wall and just hoping it sticks. It just doesn't really do much for me. I will say, the two songs I actually did kind of like, well, the one song I really liked especially was actually To Bid You Farewell. I really loved the beginning half, the first half or whatever. It's really nice, has a nice straight beat, and the fretless bass sounds great too. And Nectar was also kind of cool, I guess. I mean, there's some cool parts in there too, but I still think that even though Morning Rise to me is a slightly better album, it just doesn't really hold a candle to any of the stuff that comes later at all. I'll put Heritage in Meh tier. So, like I said, I wasn't an Opeth fan when this album came out. Again, I started listening to them in 2019, so I wasn't in the community in that community when they did their style, when they did their 180 from progressive death metal to just really weird jazz fusion kind of stuff. I really like the production and the mix for the album. I can hear all the parts, all the acoustic guitar parts, and sound great. The tones that they're going for and the keyboards sound really good too. I felt that the songwriting was not great. It was not great for this one. It felt like, again, it was them trying a new sound, but it just kind of felt, it didn't feel as polished to me. And when I was listening to it, I'm like, okay, there's some songs that kind of work here, and I mean they're kind of going with that whole weird proggy type of sound. But then you have songs like Slither that sound more like a straight up rock song, and I couldn't get behind that at all. I felt like there wasn't as much consistency with this album compared to some of the other stuff that they released prior to this. A few of the songs I actually did like were Hex Process, Devil's Orchard, and Marrow of the Earth. I especially liked Hex Process at the ending part where it's just mellotron and bass and occasionally some guitar phrasing. It sounded kind of nice, like very mellow. Like dynamically, it was really just a really cool, but again, it just felt a little too weird for me at times. It felt a little too alien to me. I could probably say for the next album here, they kind of suffer from the opposite problem. I think that Sorceress has good songwriting, but the production is not great. Like, I think that the songwriting, I mean, there's definitely a lot more structure to it, and it feels like they kind of are getting the format down, but the production just doesn't feel great. I don't know if this is just me, but when I was listening to the title track, I'm like, there's an obscene amount of low end I was noticing. Like, it was so much that I was noticing that it kind of sounded muddy to me. But then I was hearing other songs like, say, Chrysalis, for example, and I was like, there isn't really as much. And I kind of noticed especially noticed the difference in the heavier songs, like the electric guitar songs, compared to the acoustic parts. The acoustic parts sounded great. Like, they sounded very crisp. They sound crisp. They sound clear. The right amount of reverb. It just didn't feel that overwhelming. So I felt that the mix on this one was very inconsistent. It could have been such a great album to me, because I think because again, the songwriting worked a lot better, but compared to Heritage, but I just didn't care for the mix whatsoever. I thought it was very, very not great. So what I will say though is that, like, for the standout songs on this album, I really liked Strange Brew, Will o' the Wisp, and Chrysalis. Chrysalis, again, even though it is one of the heavier songs, for some reason on that one, I feel like they kind of dialed in the mix on that a little better. It's just, I don't know. There was something about it that I liked a little bit more than a lot of the other heavier songs that they had. I want to move on to the good tier. I probably would put Deliverance in B tier. I listened to a little bit of the original version, and then I listened to the rest of the remix, like the entire remix, right? I didn't think the original mix was that great. Like, I noticed that on songs like Wreath, there's this, like, in the remix, there's this noticeable layering of of vocals, right? And it's like these growling vocals, and they sounded so gnarly, so like gross and like just so death metal-y almost. But when I was listening to the original mix for it, I couldn't really hear that. And I felt that was such a disappointment to me, because that really just added to the level of like level of emotion and vibe. But I thought that the remix version definitely was a little bit louder, had a little bit more low end to it, but it was like, it felt a little bit more balanced in a way. Like, it wasn't overwhelming. The growls sound great, and it's just musically, I love the fact that it was a lot more relentless. But the gentle parts, like the really soft parts, like in A Fair Judgment, for example, were like a really good juxtaposition from those heavy parts. That was my calendar. The songs I really liked were Wreath, the title track Deliverance, Master's Apprentices for Absent Friends, and A Fair Judgment. I wasn't really super into By the Pain I See in Others, mostly because of the ending. I felt that because they had that, it was just it's one of those like really dumb things that a lot of artists will do, where they're like, oh, let's just go have like 3 or 4 minutes of silence, and then we'll have like a hidden track or some like weird thing going on. In this case, they were just resampling some parts of another song. I think it was for Absent Friends or Masters. Oh no, it was Master Apprentices. I didn't think that the sampling at the end was necessary. They could have just ended it like right there. They could have just ended it like before they had that part. Still a solid album, but you know, I just didn't think it was as great. My Arms Your Hearse is probably next. I think My Arms Your Hearse was actually, I have a little bit more of a personal connection with this one. This was actually the first Opeth CD I ever got. I got it as a birthday gift when I was a young 19-year-old man. Compared to Orchid and Morning Rise, the songwriting is so much better. The production is still very raw, but there is a lot more cohesion to the song. Not the song, sorry, the album. Especially because it's their first. This was the first concept album that they worked on. It's about like someone that dies and becomes a ghost and sees all of how their friends and relatives move on and stuff. I really liked the drums on it. It was very clear that they had a different drummer than what they were using before, and the feel for the new one. I think it was Martin Lopez that started playing on this album, and then Martin Mendez joined the band, but he didn't actually play on anything until Still Life, which I will get to later. Uh, but man, I really love the drum grooves in a lot of those songs on My Arms Your Hearse. I still don't think the production was great. It's still very raw sounding, but the songwriting is so much better on this one that like I could forgive the production, forgive like the crappy production. So for me, some of the standout songs I can think of would be April Ethereal, When, The Amen Corner, Demon of the Fall, which is probably my favorite and probably almost everybody else's favorite off of that album, and Epilogue. I would put Pale Communion in good tier as well. I actually used to not like this album when I first listened to it. I thought it was very forgettable. I didn't really think that that the jazz fusion stuff was like my thing until I actually started getting more into it and into jazz fusion. And listening to this, it just feels like, because this came right, like almost right after Heritage. Like this came out a few years after. It really feels like that it's like Heritage, but it actually has has better stylistic cohesion. The production and the mix is so much better, and the influences are just so, you can hear the jazz influence in this a lot better. And it's just, the execution is just generally better for me. There's still some songs, that I'm like not, crazy about. Like I feel like there's like some other ones where I'm like, okay, well this is fine, but I'm like, I don't really think that this song should be really that long, but okay. But if I had to name some of the standout songs for me, I really liked Eternal Rains Will Come, Cusp of Eternity, Moon Above, Sun Below, Goblin, and Voice of Treason. With Moon Above, Sun Below probably being my favorite, just because I really like the Mellotron sound in parts of it. Now I want to move on to A tier or epic tier. So let's go put in Incauda Venenum. I'm biased. I started listening to Opeth around the time when this album came out. I listened to the Swedish version, but just for consistency's sake and also for the fact that my Swedish is not very good. I mean, I know how to speak a little bit of it, but I'm not going to embarrass myself on camera. I will be referring to all the song titles in English. I like the production on this a lot better than I do with Sorceress. As like the muddiness, there's no muddiness. It's in your face, but there's enough clarity with all the instruments to where you can actually like, oh yeah, I can actually hear everything. I can hear all the intricacies of the bass parts, the keyboards, the drums, everything, right? I especially love the songwriting, especially on Dignity. Like there's this really cool like 6/8 part, the da 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 da, like just going through, and especially with the acoustic section, it just feels very epic. You can really tell that Opeth had got their their prog rock sound like perfected almost, I would say. And it was just the same type of sound that they've been trying to chase since Heritage. And so for me, some of my standout songs would be Dignity, Heart in Hand, Charlatan, The Garroter, Continuum, and All Things Will Pass. And The Garroter is probably my favorite because of that jazzy kind of piano where it's like that downbeat, that, and then like the scat vocals at the end, which I didn't even notice were really there the entire time until Spotify was rolling out that lossless thing. But great album. I would recommend it. Next, I would put Damnation in epic tier. A lot of people would put it in S tier. I get it. It's a great album, has great production, at least on the remix. I still think the production on the original version is good, but I didn't really care for how loud the drums sounded in the original, at least how it sounded to me. Um, with this one, you could it just was such a stylistic departure from like Blackwater Park and Deliverance, and it worked. I mean, the first songs I listened to from Opeth, I was like, I went on their Spotify, and the first two songs I listened to were Window Pane and In My Time of Need. And I was actually like, this is, people are telling me that this is a heavy band. But as I've come to listen to their other stuff and then listening to this, it made me really appreciate how versatile of a band they are. Michael's vocals just sound so beautiful and so haunting. And Martin Mendez's bass playing, which I can say this for every record that he's been on, he really knows how to come up with great bass lines that are not super flashy but still work within the context of the song. Like, he still provides that sense of groove. I mean, there's times where, I mean, like, you can hear like the Latin roots in his playing. It's just so cool. I absolutely love that man's bass playing. Some of the standout songs for me would be like Window Pane, In My Time of Need, Closure, Hope Leaves, To Rid the Disease, and Ending Credits. I liked Weakness, but I didn't. I think my issue with that is more so the way that the songs were ordered. I think they could have probably had Ending Credits be the last song, because it was the second to last song, but I think that would have been like a perfect closer. Next, I would put Still Life in Epic tier. I fucking love Still Life. This album is absolutely amazing, especially in comparison to My Heart Arms Your Hearse. The production is a lot better. It's a lot more clean. It's cleaner sounding. The acoustic guitars have a nice amount of reverb, so it has that spacey atmosphere. I mean, for me, I absolutely especially love like how much better Michael's clean vocals got compared to those previous three albums that they had before. It just, again, none of the songs ever felt like they were random, and they actually, again, had form to them. Like, they felt you could actually like hear it and like, oh, there's a story, because this one's also a concept album too, but the subject matter is a little different, and you can feel like the sense of like sorrow and dread when you listen to it, and it's just, I love it. And so, I mean, especially I love the intro to The More, where it's just like that like where it's like you hear those chords playing, and you have like that sustained guitar, and it really is such a great way to establish the mood. And then the acoustic guitar comes in, it just goes into those heavy death metal riffs with all that double kick, and the double kick is so good. I love the entire album, but I feel like for me, White Cluster, the song White Cluster, which is the ending song, kind of held it back for me. I wasn't as into it. I still think it's a great song, but I just didn't think that it really, like, I felt like that one for me had the least amount of cohesion for me. I don't know. Next, I would put Watershed up in Epic tier. Watershed is just, like, prior to Last Will and Testament, this was Opeth's last death metal influenced album. This album to me is a great conclusion to a really strong era for the band, especially with songs like the song like Coil leading into Heir Apparent, and then Lotus Eater, then Burden and Porcelain Heart, and then you had all these other songs, and then you had Hex Omega. Again, it's very like in your face, it's very heavy. I would argue it's heavier than Deliverance personally. The one song I didn't really care for as much was Hessian Peel. The first half of the song was great. It's like your like clean acoustic guitar with some bass, like very minimal percussion. But the second half, I don't like the second half. I didn't think it was very memorable. I felt that the transition from that first calm half to the second one just didn't feel very seamless to me. And it just kind of felt like they just kind of tacked it on. It kind of felt like to me at that point they were just like, well, this is probably going to be the last like death metal thing we're doing, so screw it. Why not? Yeah, I don't know. I really liked it a lot. Now we have Sorrow tier, right? This is where things start to get really, really difficult for me to rank, right? So I'm going to start off with the one that I actually like the least in this tier, but I still love. Last Will and Testament. It's been out for almost a year. And I think the album is incredible. And I still loved it. I still love it as much as I did when it came out, right? It's the perfect to me is like the almost perfect amalgamation of ideas from each album that came out prior to this one. I love the grooves on subsection 5 and subsections 5 and 7, especially with the latter reminding me of the ending to Reverie Harlequin Forest off of Ghost Reveries. Like there's just that groove there, and it just felt made me want to dance, made me want to move, uh I just love I also love Ian Anderson, or the flute player for Jethro Tull, like his contributions to the album too, with the spoken word. It really helped kind of propel the story, because this one's another concept album about a family, about the patriarch dying and leaving his last will and testament to his family. Like he really provided that dead matriarch, not dead matriarch, sorry, patriarch, uh, like vibe with his voice, and his flute playing on subsection 4, so good. It's one of my probably like one of my favorite flute solos. Um, Overall, I really liked. I also especially really liked subsection 5, because even though it's a different drummer, it's not Martin Lopez anymore, or Martin Axelrod, who are great drummers. It's a completely different guy. His name is Valtteri, I think. I could be pronouncing his name wrong. I'm really sorry in advance. But his groove is also kind of Latin influenced too, and it's just uh like that kind of, I forget what kind, it's like a clave beat almost, but it kind of works. It's still, that type of vibe is still very much present on there. And I love the fact that they're still so stylistically consistent with this album. If I had to think of what song I wasn't really into, I would actually have to say it was the last song, A Story Never Told. I still think it's a great song. It's amazing. It's a great closer. But for some reason, I just happen to like that one the least. I don't, it's like the first half, I'm like, okay, I'm not so sure about this song. But then once it gets to the ending, I'm like, oh, this works so well for me. I just, This was really hard for me. But I would say Ghost Reveries is my second favorite Opeth album. Most people will say Ghost Reveries is their favorite, others won't, others don't. But for me, it's my second favorite album. But the album has excellent production and mixing. The synth tone, it's like they kind of wanted to go back into that Blackwater Park vibe, compared to, like, because before it was Damnation, right? But then they were like, oh, let's kind of do the whole Blackwater Park thing, but mix it with some of the prog elements too, right? We'll include mellotrons, Hammond organs, Fender Rhodes pianos, all that kind of stuff. And we'll just like do all that kind of stuff. So it just was perfect, because I mean, I like prog, I like metal, so it's just that great amalgamation, right? While I don't necessarily have a least favorite song on the album, I feel like the one song on the album, I feel like the one I didn't really care, happened to like the least, was Hours of Wealth. I don't know. I just wasn't super into that one. I would have to say my favorite was Isolation Years. It's one of the few songs that I listened to that genuinely made me cry, especially with those beautiful timbres and those sad chords. And I don't pay attention to lyrics generally. I'm not good with lyrics at all, but the lyrics for Isolation Years are so sad. It makes me so sad when I listen to it. It's a beautiful song, but I get so sad when I listen to it. Obviously, by process of elimination, Blackwater Park is my fucking favorite. I'm not gonna spend that much time talking about why I like why I love this album, but I mean, because everybody's been talking about this one to death, but this to me is Opeth's best album. The production is great. The songwriting makes me feel happy listening to it. To me, that is peak Opeth. Um, I mean, well, I had to say, I mean, Drapery Falls is probably still my favorite song, but fucking listen to the album, dude. Like, it's so good. With that being said, that was my Opeth tier list. If you guys have a different ranking of the albums, let me know in the comments. I love talking about music with people. I genuinely enjoy it. Like, especially when it comes to like some of my favorite bands. Just, you know, just leave me a list. Bye. And one more thing, my EP is coming out on October 6th on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music. I will put the pre-save, the DistroKid pre-save link in the description below. And also check out all my social media. I post on Instagram and TikTok as well. Yeah, have a good day.